Brought to you by WikiVidi documentaries. Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan, born Temüjin, was the great Khan and founder of the Mongol Empire, which became the largest contiguous empire in history after his death. He came to power by uniting many of the nomadic tribes of Northeast Asia. After founding the empire and being proclaimed Genghis Khan, he launched the Mongol invasions that conquered most of Eurasia. Campaigns initiated in his lifetime include those against the Qara Khitai, Caucasus, and Khwarazmian, Western Xia and Jin dynasties. These campaigns were often accompanied by large-scale massacres of the civilian populations, especially in the Khwarazmian and Western Xia-controlled lands. By the end of his life, the Mongol Empire occupied a substantial portion of Central Asia and China. Before Genghis Khan died, he assigned Ögedei Khan as his successor. Later his grandsons split his empire into khanates. He died in 1227 after defeating the Western Xia. He was buried in an unmarked grave somewhere in Mongolia. His descendants extended the Mongol Empire across most of Eurasia by conquering or creating vassal states in all of modern-day China, Korea, the Caucasus, Central Asia, and substantial portions of Eastern Europe and Southwest Asia. Many of these invasions repeated the earlier large-scale slaughters of local populations. As a result, Genghis Khan and his empire have a fearsome reputation in local histories. Beyond his military accomplishments, Genghis Khan also advanced the Mongol Empire in other ways. He decreed the adoption of the Uyghur script as the Mongol Empire's writing system. He also practiced meritocracy and encouraged religious tolerance in the Mongol Empire, and unified the nomadic tribes of Northeast Asia. Present-day Mongolians regard him as the founding father of Mongolia. Although known for the brutality of his campaigns and considered by many to have been a genocidal ruler, Genghis Khan is also credited with bringing the Silk Road under one cohesive political environment. This brought communication and trade from Northeast Asia into Muslim Southwest Asia and Christian Europe, thus expanding the horizons of all three cultural areas. His name is pronounced usually. Lineage. Temüjin was related on his father's side to Kublai Khan, Ambahai, and Ögedei Khan, who had headed the Kamag-Mongol Confederation and were descendants of Bödönka-Mungkag. When the Xia and Jin dynasty switched support from the Mongols to the Tatars in 1161, they destroyed Kublai Khan. Temüjin's father, Yeshugei, emerged as the head of the ruling Mongol clan. This position was contested by the rival Tai-Chiud clan, who descended directly from Ambahai. When the Tatars grew too powerful after 1161, the Jin switched their support from the Tatars to the Karaites. Birth. Little is known about Temüjin's early life, due to the lack of contemporary written records. The few sources that give insight into this period often contradict. Temüjin's name was derived from the Mongol word Tema, meaning of iron, while Jin denotes agency, thus Temüjin means blacksmith. Temüjin was probably born in 1162 in Dalan Balzhut, near the mountain Burkhan Khildun and the rivers Onan and Kerlan in modern-day northern Mongolia, close to the current capital Ulaanbaatar. The secret history of the Mongols reports that Temüjin was born grasping a blood clot in his fist, a traditional sign that he was destined to become a great leader. He was the second son of his father Yeshugei, who was a Kiyad chief prominent in the Kamag-Mongol Confederation and an ally of Toghrul of the Karaite tribe. Temüjin was the first son of his mother Holan. According to the secret history, Temüjin was named after the Tatar chief Temüjin Ugi, whom his father had just captured. Yesekai's clan was Borjigin, and Holin was from the old Khanate sublineage of the Kongarad tribe. Like other tribes, they were nomads. Temüjin's noble background made it easier for him to solicit help from, and eventually consolidate the other Mongol tribes. Early life and family. Temüjin had three brothers, Hasa, Hoshian, and Temüj, one sister Temülen, and two half-brothers Begta and Belgate. Like many of the nomads of Mongolia, Temüjin's early life was difficult. His father arranged a marriage for him and delivered him at age 9 to the family of his future wife, Vort of the tribe Kongarad. Temüjin was to live there, serving the head of the household Daisetsin until the marriageable age of 12. While heading home, his father ran into the neighboring Tatars, who had long been Mongol enemies, and they offered him food that poisoned him. Upon learning this, Temüjin returned home to claim his father's position as chief. But the tribe refused this and abandoned the family, leaving it without protection. For the next several years, the family lived in poverty, surviving mostly on wild fruits, ox carcasses, marmots, and other small game killed by Temüjin and his brothers. Temüjin's older half-brother Begta began to exercise power as the eldest male in the family and would eventually have the right to claim Holin as wife. Temüjin's resentment erupted during one hunting excursion when Temüjin and his brother Qasa killed Begta. In a raid around 1177, Temüjin was captured by his father's former allies, the Taichiud, and enslaved, reportedly with a Kang. With the help of a sympathetic guard, he escaped from the Gur at night by hiding in a river crevice. The escape earned Temüjin a reputation. Soon, Yelmi and Boorchu joined forces with him. They and the guard's son Chilorn eventually became generals of Genghis Khan. At this time, none of the tribal confederations of Mongolia were united politically, and arranged marriages were often used to solidify temporary alliances. Temüjin grew up observing the tough political climate, which included tribal warfare, thievery, raids, corruption, and revenge between confederations, compounded by interference from abroad such as from China to the south. Temüjin's mother Holin taught him many lessons, especially the need for strong alliances to ensure stability in Mongolia. Marriage to Bort. As previously arranged by his father, Temüjin married Bort of the Ongirat tribe when he was around 16 in order to cement alliances between their two tribes. Soon after the marriage, Bort was kidnapped by the Merkits and reportedly given away as a wife. Temüjin rescued her with the help of his friend and future rival, Jamukha, and his protector, Toghrul of the Khitai tribe. She gave birth to a son, Jochi, 9 months later, clouding the issue of his parentage. Despite speculation over Jochi, Bort would be Temüjin's only empress, though he did follow tradition by taking several more Khanatic wives. Bort had 3 more sons, Chagatai, Ögedei, and Tolui. Genghis Khan also had many other children with his other wives, but they were excluded from succession. The names of at least 6 daughters are known, and while they played significant roles behind the scenes during his lifetime, no documents have survived that definitively provide the number and names of daughters born to the consorts of Genghis Khan. Early attempts at power. Temüjin began his ascent to power by offering himself as an ally to his father's and the Toghrul, who was Khan of the Kharites, and is better known by the Chinese title, Wang Khan, which the Xia and Jin dynasty granted him in 1197. This relationship was first reinforced when Bort was captured by the Merkits. Temüjin turned to Toghrul for support, and Toghrul offered 20,000 of his Karaite warriors, and suggested that Temüjin involve his childhood friend Jamukha, who had himself become Khan of his own tribe, the Jadarin. Although the campaign recaptured, bought, and utterly defeated the Merkits, it also paved the way for the split between Temüjin and Jamukha. Before this, they were blood brothers vowing to remain eternally faithful. Rift with Jamukha and defeat at Dalan Balzhut. As Jamukha and Temüjin drifted apart in their friendship, each began consolidating power, and they became rivals. Jamukha supported the traditional Mongolian aristocracy, while Temüjin followed a meritocratic method, and attracted a broader range and lower class of followers. His earlier defeat of the Merkits, and a proclamation by the shaman Kokochu that the eternal blue sky had set aside the world for Temüjin. Temüjin began rising to power. In 1186, Temüjin was elected Khan of the Mongols. Threatened by this rise, Jamukha attacked Temüjin in 1187 with an army of 30,000 troops. Temüjin gathered his followers to defend against the attack, but was decisively beaten in the Battle of Dalan Balzhut. However, Jamukha horrified and alienated potential followers by boiling 70 young male captives alive in cauldrons. Toghrul, as Temüjin's patron, was exiled to the Qara Khitai. The life of Temüjin for the next 10 years is unclear, as historical records are mostly silent on the period. Return to power. Around the year 1197, the Jin initiated an attack against their former vassal, the Tatars, with help from the Karaites and Mongols. Temüjin commanded part of this attack, and after victory, he and Toghrul were restored by the Jin to positions of power. The Jin bestowed Toghrul with the honorable title of On Khan, and Temüjin with a lesser title of Jaut Kari. Around 1200, the main rivals of the Mongol Confederation were the Naimans to the west, the Merkits to the north, the Tanguts to the south, and the Jin to the east. In his rule and his conquest of rival tribes, Temüjin broke with Mongol tradition in a few crucial ways. He delegated authority based on merit and loyalty, rather than family ties. As an incentive for absolute obedience and the Yasa code of law, Temüjin promised civilians and soldiers wealth from future war spoils. When he defeated rival tribes, he did not drive away their soldiers and abandon their civilians. Instead, he took the conquered tribe under his protection and integrated its members into his own tribe. He would even have his mother adopt orphans from the conquered tribe, bringing them into his family. These political innovations inspired great loyalty among the conquered people, making Temüjin stronger with each victory. Rift with Toghrul. Sengam, son of Toghrul, envied Temüjin's growing power and affinity with his father. He allegedly planned to assassinate Temüjin. Although Toghrul was allegedly saved on multiple occasions by Temüjin, he gave in to his son and became uncooperative with Temüjin. Temüjin learned of Sengam's intentions and eventually defeated him and his loyalists. One of the later ruptures between Temüjin and Toghrul was Toghrul's refusal to give his daughter in marriage to Jochi, Temüjin's first son. This was disrespectful in Mongolian culture and led to a war. Toghrul allied with Jamukha, who already opposed Temüjin's forces. However, the dispute between Toghrul and Jamukha, plus the desertion of a number of their allies to Temüjin, led to Toghrul's defeat. Jamukha escaped during the conflict. This defeat was a catalyst for the fall and eventual dissolution of the Karaite tribe. The next direct threat to Temüjin was the Naimans, with whom Jamukha and his followers took refuge. The Naimans did not surrender, although enough sectors again voluntarily sided with Temüjin. In 1201, a Khwarazmian elected Jamukha as Qara Khan, universal ruler, a title used by the rulers of the Qara Khitai. Jamukha's assumption of this title was the final breach with Temüjin, and Jamukha formed a coalition of tribes to oppose him. Before the conflict, several generals abandoned Jamukha, including Subutai, Yelmes's well-known younger brother. After several battles, Jamukha was turned over to Temüjin by his own men in 1206. According to the secret history, Temüjin again offered his friendship to Jamukha. Temüjin had killed the men who betrayed Jamukha, stating that he did not want disloyal men in his army. Jamukha refused the offer, saying that there can only be one sun in the sky, and he asked for a noble death. The custom was to die without spilling blood, specifically by having one's back broken. Jamukha requested this form of death, although he was known to have boiled his opponent's generals alive. Sole ruler of the Mongol plains, 1206. The part of the Merkit clan that sided with the Naimans were defeated by Subutai, who was by then a member of Temüjin's personal guard, and later became one of the most successful commanders of Genghis Khan. The Naimans' defeat left Temüjin as the sole ruler of the Mongol steppe. All the prominent confederations fell or united under his Mongol Confederation. Accounts of Genghis Khan's life are marked by claims of a series of betrayals and conspiracies. These include rifts with his early allies such as Jamukha and Wang Khan, his son Jochi, and problems with the most important shaman, who allegedly tried to drive a wedge between him and his loyal brother Khasa. His military strategies showed a deep interest in gathering intelligence and understanding the motivations of his rivals, exemplified by his extensive spy network and yam root systems. He seemed to be a quick student, adopting new technologies and ideas that he encountered, such as siege warfare from the Chinese. He was also ruthless, demonstrated by his tactic of measuring against the linchpin, used against the tribes led by Jamukha. As a result, by 1206, Temüjin had managed to unite or subdue the Merkits, Naimans, Mongols, Kharites, Tatars, Uyghurs, and other disparate smaller tribes under his rule. This was a monumental feat. It resulted in peace between previously warring tribes and a single political and military force. The union became known as the Mongols. At a Khwarazmian, a council of Mongol chiefs, Temüjin was acknowledged as Khan of the consolidated tribes and took the new title, Genghis Khan. The title Khagan was conferred posthumously by his son and successor Ögedei, who took the title for himself. Thank you for watching. Brought to you by WikiVidi Documentaries. Please like and subscribe below. Please like and subscribe below.